Welcome into the Non-League Papers, Non-League Goalmouth. My name is Matt Badcock. I'm joined by our executive editor, John Couch, and Andy Mitchell. Good to have you back as well, Andy. How are we, chaps? All good?
Good, thank you. Yeah, not bad. You all right?
Yeah, cracking.
Very well, very well. Just before we get started, we're going to talk a lot about FA Cup today. FA Cup replays, obviously, the other night, and the FA Cup first round draw has been made. It is on the horizon, this big fixture in the calendar, this big weekend in the calendar of non-league football, and also obviously the whole of the English game. So we're going to come on to that. But first of all, just say if you can like and subscribe to this podcast, we really appreciate it. It really does help us and the channel. And hopefully you're enjoying what we're doing. Let's start with Tuesday night. There were some huge upsets, really. Probably the one to start with, Gainsborough Trinity beating Hartlepool. Obviously, Gainsborough had almost won the tie at the first attempt on Saturday. A late goal from Hartlepool sent that to a replay. And sort of talking to Russ Wilcox, the manager, Gainsborough manager, the other day. It was a kind of a repeat of our conversation from the year before when they had the same thing. They were beating Boston in their fourth round qualifier. Boston equalised late, went to a replay, and they managed to do it at the second attempt, and they've gone and done it again. But a huge win for Gainsborough, beating them 3-1. Just goes to underline the problems at Hartlepool at the minute. And Couchy, what's your take on that? They obviously sacked Simon Grayson between games as well.
Yeah, I mean it fell right on their lap, didn't it? I mean, good game Saturday. Come very, very close to beat them Saturday. It was a bit of a freak goal, really, which allowed Hartlepool to get a replay, and then they go and sack Simon Grayson right in between the two matches. And you talk about timing of decisions. That was probably as bad as it can get. And Russ Wilcox must have been rubbing his hands with glee. And then obviously you see on the internet, Hartlepool put in their fixture. Yeah, we're playing whoever in the next round, and it kind of wrote their team talk, didn't it? Really, and of course, Gainsborough went and did the job on them, and fair play to them, and what a great result for non-league. But Hartlepool need to look at themselves over these last few days, because they literally threw that away, and they've not come out of this looking good at all. And it's a shame, because I thought they fought really well in the summer. I thought they looked really good. They started the season great, and they looked a real threat, but they're in a real mess at the moment. And Gainsborough have taken full advantage.
Yeah, I think sort of speaking to Russ Wilcox, I think there was certainly an awareness of how the atmosphere could change if they got that goal. And Andy, do you sort of think maybe we can underestimate actually how plugged in sort of clubs are? And when they see the tweet that went out the other night, that was we'll be playing Accrington subject to our replay, and just sort of the general feeling around the club is obviously not a happy camp at the minute. But that can be really important for clubs, the underdog to kind of play on, and obviously as Gainsborough did the other night.
Well, it shouldn't be, should it? It shouldn't be a surprise, really, that teams will plug into that, whether they're Step 5 or Premier League. It's all about WhatsApp groups. It's about people screen grabbing things and sharing it on Twitter. It's going to get around, even if it didn't get around supporters, even if it hadn't got the traction which it did get. It's probably still going to get that traction within Gainsborough Trinity's dressing room. The old thing about putting the newspaper cutting up on the wall and saying, "There you go, lads." Managers don't even need to do that anymore, do they? Players are doing it themselves. Somebody would inevitably have shared that in a WhatsApp group and went, "There you go." And what a team to do it against as well. Were they not aware of what Gainsborough did last year? There's another side to that, in that Gainsborough, you get a feel around clubs. You've experienced this yourselves, lads. I certainly have. You go to a club that's recently had an FA Cup run, and there's just, even if it's completely different players and there's been a change of manager and a change of squad, there's a feel about a place. There's a kind of yes we can element to FA Cup ties. A feeling, and particularly with Russ Wilcox still being there, of course, many links to the pro game and whatever. So he'd have been right across it as well. There's just so many elements there. I can't understand why they put that out, to be honest with you. It's probably just not been thought about. It was
it's probably just a mistake, really, wasn't it? It's kind of just like
crazy. I mean, they to delete it as well.
Yeah, just a
whack
mistake.
it out.
Crazy move.
Whack it out on social media without a great deal, perhaps without thinking it through first. And to be honest, it probably wasn't actually meant how it came across and how it was taken.
Yeah,
it's probably just could have chosen better language, and all of a sudden it's become this thing. And you'd imagine whoever did it is probably feeling a little bit guilty as well, man.
Yeah,
because of the result, but because of the backlash that's
it's almost like I must admit I didn't see it until actually after and so it's sort of like used then, isn't it? But
Gainsborough sharing it, that's when I saw it.
Yeah,
that's what the same as
wasn't it? Yeah, absolutely everywhere. Yeah,
but it's not always. Yeah, you don't want to sort of pile into people because it probably was just like rushed out and sort of these things kind of happen and but yeah, I think probably the wider point is that it's so much unrest at
clubs are a mess.
Yeah, the club, the fans are not happy with the way things are going, and that was probably one of the bigger things for them is they knew that actually if we get a goal, then it's going to turn the mood. If we get a second, it's going to go even worse. And they've obviously gone in at 2-0 at half time. Come out for the start of the second half, and you're bracing yourselves for like the big sort of comeback from the higher league side and what they're going to sort of put on you. And then Gainsborough gone and got a third almost immediately, and kind of that would have been obviously a long way back as it is, but let alone in that sort of atmosphere when the fans are obviously fuming and not happy with the direction things have been going in. So it's I
recall a bit of that mentality when Redditch first got into the Conference North. I watched them a lot back then before I got into writing, and they always kind of played on that. And it's different because it's a league game or whatever, but they came into the very first season of the Conference North, and you had Barrow and Southport and these big traditional clubs that had been in the Football League, big Northern Premier League clubs into the Conference North. And I'll never forget going up to Barrow for the first time. And it's quite an intimidating atmosphere at Barrow. Those two sides where everyone's quite on top. But you're right, it can change very quickly. If the underdog goes and gets a goal, that little scratty team that, should we even be in the same league as these or whatever? There was a little bit of that mentality at the time. And I remember Redditch going up there winning 6-1. That didn't go down particularly well. Storming Norman Silla with a hat-trick.
Silla, I remember him.
Storming Norman, he did really well. And I think veteran midfielder Mark Taylor scoring directly from a corner. Just what you said there, Matt, just reminded me of that. But it's true. Sometimes the atmosphere in a stadium, you feel it yourselves, don't you? It palpably changes. When things aren't going particularly well, it can take just one goal. And sometimes it's not a reasonable reaction. A team that's been in trouble might have started well 15 minutes. They go and concede a goal and the whole place changes straight away. The shoulders of the players go down. And it's very difficult to battle against that. And that's kind of the bad side of having a big old fan base, I suppose.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Sometimes people are waiting for it to go as well, aren't they? I've been to games where, it's like everybody's waiting for that moment. And then it's like, there's a moment now we can sort of it's like the excuse to like the trigger point of like, right now we can really sort of say what we want to sort of say almost kind of.
That's really interesting because Adam Murray at Kidderminster said exactly that in one of his interviews, and he's been pelted for it. Kiddie Arias lost 5-1 to Radcliffe on Saturday, and he is basically saying the hangover of missing out on the title last season is still hanging around at the club, and as soon as something starts to go wrong, it's creating that atmosphere. And the supporters have said, well, actually, that's a bit of an excuse, and that's not true. And I mean, I haven't been myself, so I don't know. But interesting that a manager raising that, because it's quite rare that a manager would turn around and almost say that this big fan base, there's a downside to it. And he shone a light on that only in this past week in his post-match interview from the Radcliffe game. So it's interesting that it's kind of come up in the way that in the way it has with us now.
Yeah, sort of reminds you of Dean Brennan getting into the fans at Barnet last year, even after
That's
That was
it,
the problem.
which is a bit different, but
Yeah.
he did it. It galvanised the whole team, and I think they went on a big, long, unbeaten run after that.
they already won a run at the time.
They eventually won the title.
Is that, well, from a manager's point of view, that's a hell of a lot easier to do when you're winning games.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And when you're perhaps punching above your weight a little bit, than say a club the size of Kiddy Harriers losing 5-1 at home.
It was quite a convincing win, and piled onto the fans, and it had the desired effect.
Yeah, talking of Radcliffe, though, what a job Anthony Johnson and Bernard Morley are doing there. Aren't they? They're sort of
4 goals from corners, which I think will say a lot about.
That's the future of football. The set piece, you know that.
But I mean, fair play to them. They've obviously
going back to the start, aren't we, boys? Set pieces. Yeah, I love a set piece goal. I love a set piece goal. But
can't beat a set piece goal.
I mean, the job that they're doing up there as well, and for Radcliffe to have, maybe a few people expected Radcliffe to sort of pop a little bit as a club, not pop literally, but to sort of scale back as a club a little bit, following the untimely death of the chairman, who I met, lovely bloke. But I don't think people were necessarily expecting a lot of Radcliffe as a club because of that. You know, they climbed quite quickly, and then they had that tragedy. So to see them doing well and to be galvanised in only the way that Bernie and Jono can do, really. It's refreshing to see as well. Now, it's almost a little Radcliffe punching their weight as well.
Yeah,
it's enjoyable, isn't it?
That league is better than
especially those. Especially those. One of their former clubs, Chester, obviously had a good result the other night, beating Morecambe. And we're sort of talking about, the National League club, and not happy off the field. I mean, obviously they've had an absolute nightmare, period. Not even just a summer, Morecambe. All building to that point. Would they have a club? No, obviously everything got put through, and they've back playing football. Now they're back to having the football problems that they probably missed for quite a while. And Chester having to go to a replay on Chester on a Tuesday night is certainly not easy. And Callum McIntyre's boys have got the job done, and they're off to Cambridge in the first round. But not an easy place to go on a Tuesday night either. No,
it's not. And firstly, fair play to Chester. They were excellent on Saturday by all accounts, and they pushed Morecambe all the way, and had to be patient on Tuesday night against still a decent Morecambe side with a lot of big names, but got the job done. 2 late goals and a comfortable 2-0 win. So
it was a bit of a screamer, one of the goals I saw.
The second one, Jack Bainbridge, 30-yarder, beauty. And Callum was naturally really pleased with his men. But Morecambe, you mentioned the problems rearing ugly head just when they thought the fans thought they were going to have a nice sort of a nice period of incident-free and controversy-free football. It's come back. I wasn't a big fan of the way they handled the whole Derek Adams thing. I'm still not. Yes, I'm all for giving managers a chance, but it's not working. Sorry. So yeah, I think they're going to need to rethink pretty soon. Otherwise, it could be a long season for them. FA Cup would have been important to them this year as a football club. Unfortunately, they're now in a bit of shtuck down the bottom of the National League and out of the cup. And they've got a fan base who are not happy again, which is not a good combination, I'm afraid.
Interesting that Derek Adams has popped up on BBC Lancashire interview this week as well. Kind of, it seemed I think it was before that. I don't know when they recorded it, but seemed to be pre-planned kind of thing. But interesting, he sort of popped up, and that kind of adds to it, doesn't it? The fans thinking, that was our manager that did so much for the club. But you don't. Football, we often sort of say football doesn't care about what's happened to you, all your issues. It's not a sentimental game, and Chester, great opportunity for them to get through, and they've obviously
course.
taken it as well. I think one of the other sort of interesting ties from the other night was Totton beating Truro as well, and Truro has been on this incredible rise, and they've sort of been up against Totton in the past as well, haven't they? But Totton getting the job done down there on penalties, 5-3 on penalties. But interesting. Were they a club you covered, Andy, when you were down that way, Totton, or they're sort of not quite on your patch really?
Slightly off patch.
Yeah.
I went there a bit. They were on the Southampton patch, whereas I was on the Bournemouth paper. But obviously very aware of them. They had a lot of money go through there at one point and knocked on the door of the National South. Didn't quite get there. And the manager and players, I think, moved on to Havant Waterlooville at the time, and it kind of subsided a bit, and had some financial problems after that. And then obviously things are a lot different now. I think it's the age-old thing of Tottenham carrying a little bit of momentum, having got promoted last season. And Truro, while they have momentum, are stepping up to a completely different level. And without that momentum, it's probably not a massive surprise, that result, really, when you look at it, particularly as a midweek replay. Momentum, it means a lot, doesn't it? You see high-flying Championship teams oust lower-ranked Premier League teams in the third round, and it's simply a case of teams that are used to winning. Just back to the Morecambe thing, it touches on those big clubs again, doesn't it? And it struck a chord with me what you said there, John. To be honest, you look back to the decision, how quickly it happened, how pre-planned it looked to get rid of Derek Adams under the circumstances that he'd worked under. People just want their club back, and they just wanted a sense of it's not just about having their club back and football back. It's a sense of what their club is and what their club had become and how it had been perceived under the previous owners. New owners come in, and you're looking forward to the new broom sweeping clean. And then all of a sudden you have this manner of dealing with things and this sacking that many fans felt was morally objectionable. Now, that's nothing against the guys that are in there now from a football point of view. They're just going in and getting on with the job. But it kind of puts that pressure on them right from the outset, because people felt like the other guy really shouldn't have gone for many good non-footballing reasons as much as footballing reasons. You'd want Derek Adams footballing reasons, I would imagine, but for non-footballing reasons as well. So, they've either got to do a U-turn or they've got to double down. How many hearts and minds do you win if you double down and it didn't go well?
True. So, just going back to Totton, there was just one thing you mentioned there. I think what's notable about their team that the team that Jimmy Ball has put together is the experience they got. I mean, you look at it, like their forward line alone: Scott Rendell, Tony Lee, J. Emmanuel Thomas, three big. Joe Osler at the back. Joe's been playing non-league football for a long time. That's a really
Tyler Cordner scored the winning penalty.
Tyler Cordner, another one. Yeah, fantastic. What a setback! What a career he's had, and I think that's very noticeable in the setup of that team, and they helped them go over the line because Joe Osler got sent off just before half time, so they actually did it with 10 men as well. And that was a big result for them, because I think they would have looked to Truro as an example of what can be achieved. Obviously, having won the National League South somewhat surprisingly last season, Totton will look at themselves in that kind of in that kind of sphere, and they've gone there and gone past them over two legs, and now find themselves in FA Cup dreamland.
Yeah, well, they're obviously off to Macclesfield next, aren't they? Sorry, Andy, you're gonna.
There's a lot of potential in Totton, is what I was going to say. They're quite close to the Southampton area. We've looked at how the crowds and the club has grown at Eastleigh. These things have to be financed, and success.
Sholin's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential there. It's a nice setup at Totton as well. It's a kind of good place to go. So if you start pulling in crowds, you're not going and getting a pint from an old shipping container. At Totton, it's a nice setup, and they're capable of moving on, and the structures there in terms of the ground and the setup and the location. It's got a lot of potential there.
Talking about momentum and teams coming up with momentum, Brackley, and obviously they've continued that into the National League, and then when they replay against Woking on Tuesday night, they've gone, and we were just saying before we came, we don't really sort of associate Brackley with big wins and hitting people for 6, but they've knocked 6 past Woking in a 6-2 win, and that's got a club who's very, very familiar with the saying earlier about the some clubs just sort of have this feeling about getting into doing well in the FA Cup, and Brackley have been doing that for years on end. They're going to host Notts County in the first round after beating Woking, but yeah, momentum, as you say, really really important there.
Yeah, very much so, and excellent result for Brackley. Worrying for Woking. Again, another club where there's a fan base not particularly happy. Let's not take anything away from Brackley. I mean, Woking were down to 10 men. Josh Asude was sent off in the first half, but Brackley made them pay, and they've had a good start. I mean, we spoke to Gaz Dean, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying some great things about the club and having been there for so long, and they really deserved that, and that was a nice big win for them to keep spirits high going into a very busy stage of the season.
Yeah, Andy, you've sort of obviously you were there for when they got promoted, weren't you?
No, I was there. For,
one of their many playoff final defeats.
I was going to say the amount of times I've been there and watched them lose in the playoffs. I think they were probably relieved when I wasn't there.
That's why you went there.
Dave went and covered that one. And having been there for some of those, particularly the Boston one, how sore that left them. And funny enough, I remember Gaz Dean in the clubhouse afterwards, after that Boston game, inconsolable, quite literally. And people will say that, but you just literally sat there, elbows on the table, head in hands. So to see them get up, but also to be doing so well now in their new setting, and I mean to score 6. It's quite rare for them because they've always been known as quite a tight unit that maybe doesn't score floods of goals regularly anyway. I suppose flip side of that, what is happening at Woking? I mean, they've got good,
They're just having a funny season. They're just having a weird,
it's just not happening for them, is it? I thought they bought really well in the summer. They were my tip for as a surprise package this season. They look great. You look at it on paper, they look great. But
technically, they are still a surprise package in that case, though, because you didn't expect them to be down at the bottom.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. Yeah, they need to again.
The side of the coin, yeah.
Sometimes how these can be turning points in seasons, and it'll be interesting now. Again, we come up to this really busy period now, as Andy just said, and it's can be a crucial through a few weeks. Just looking through some of the other results from the other night, obviously Altrincham kind of sidestepped that banana skin of Harborough, having kind of almost done the job, and Harborough turning it around late on Saturday. Again, a club that's had their cup run last year and won't know when they're beaten, but to go and beat them 3-0 in extra time, will be a big
Harborough only had 10 men as well. They had
a lot of red cards the other night.
Yeah, there was a lot of red cards. Yeah, was it Riley O'Sullivan sent off after 7 minutes? So they had a long time.
He's been around the He's been around the Midlands patch. He's a feisty player.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the circumstances of the red card.
But his manager wasn't very happy with him, and Mitch wouldn't have been particularly happy with that.
I did see a tweet where he said, it is what it is, it happens, and I think, without any disrespect to Altrincham, I think they would almost have been the people's choice to want to get to the first round proper, Harborough. A lot of it around, this social media character that Mitch Austin's become. And he's just one of those, forget him as a manager for a second, he just seems to be one of those blokes that everybody would want to play for. He's done a lot of YouTube things and whatever. And talking to him personally when I've interviewed him and just had a chat with him after games, he's just that really personable life and soul of the party. I've seen him at Wembley before, and he's as bubbly away from an interview situation as he, you hear him coming and you're like, yeah, that's Mitch. And he's, there's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be said for that, and the momentum that can carry, just lads who want to play for you. I was kind of hoping that they'd get through. I was hoping that they'd be able to do that, because he'd have been great on camera. If they'd have got,
it would have been again, So when you interview him, the first part of the conversation isn't normally about sort of football and all that sort of stuff. You have to be like, right, now can we? Now we need to go on the record and talk about what we're actually here to talk about. But yeah, great character, great to chat to, and yeah, disappointing for them, but obviously they've got their own league ambitions now as well, and trying to become a Step 2 football club. So that'll be definitely one to watch. And talking of in a similar vein of a club that's kind of been on the up in the last couple of years, Farnham, they were so close to beating Sutton in that first game. Literally, kind of the last. We were watching it in the office, weren't we, Couch? We kind of thought that they'd actually had done it, but it was that one last bit, ball down the side, and Sutton got the equaliser, and then you go into Tuesday's night's game, and Sutton have eventually got through a very late winner in extra time. So Farnham could have done much more than taking the National League side all the way twice.
I mean, suffer FA Cup heartache, but to then suffer it twice in the space of 3 days, heartbreaking for them. And as I say, they come so close on Saturday to what would have been the biggest win of their history by a mile. Packed out crowd. And, unfortunately for them, the fullback, Jack Dean, limped off injured deep into extra time. That added a few more minutes to the clock. And then Sutton went down that side of the field and crossed, and Jaden Harris scored with the last kick of the game. So I had to do it all again at Sutton. Albeit tie not over. I mean, Sutton still very, very new under Chris Agata. They were probably there for the beating. Farnham, as you say, I've been clicking through the gears for the last sort of 3 years, and really, really strong, good side. And again, led twice. The second time they led, only for a minute again. Sutton hit back. Sutton, to their credit, hit back 2-2 with 6 minutes to go. Farnham looked like they were going to hold on, get a penalty shootout. As we know, anything can happen with penalties. And then 120th minute, Will Tizard. What a heroic goal that was for Sutton. And puts them through. Big result for Chris Agata. But again, heartbreak for Farnham, who are now got to dust themselves down and go again in the league. As you say, because they've started really well in Southern Premier South, and they'll be like Harborough. They'll be looking at kicking on again this season. Yeah,
probably Chris Agata's sort of quite maybe not pleased that it's been how they've had to come about their victories, but he's probably quite pleased at the way that sort of spirit that Sutton have shown in those games of, it could have been easy in those sort of situations to kind of just sort of, sack it off and not make that let extra run, try and target that area that's just been changed and get that equaliser for the replay and keep going. So, probably he's probably quite pleased. And they've got units at home against AFC Telford United. So, the first round draw, it's kind of, probably something we'll come and talk about in the next couple of weeks as we build up to the games, because we don't know who the TV ones are. We don't know what's switched around, but there's lots of opportunities there for non-league clubs to get through. First of all, lots of all non-league ties. You've got the sort of the classic home non-league side at home, like we're saying about Brackley against Notts County. Could that be one? And then you've got the clubs who are going to be going away to Football League clubs. Probably should mention Step 4 Malden and Tiptree, the lowest ranked side in it. They're off to to Port Vale, so a tricky one for them. Not maybe they were hoping for that first round at home, so they would definitely get the sort of TV cameras down. But off to Port Vale. And
did you see the tweet about that one as well?
It's a bit of social media sort of beef sort of kicked off a little bit.
Yeah. I can't remember which club official they referenced and said, "Oh, where's Port Vale?"
Oh,
it's the
owner,
owner,
isn't it?
Owner, yeah.
There's a little bit of jabbing going. You've just got to hope for Malden and Tiptree that they don't get done 8-0 now.
They might have poked the Port Vale.
Poke the bear.
But
yes,
people are talking about them, and if that's what you're wanting to do now, I know people won't like that, but people are talking about.
Yeah, good for them.
So absolutely.
And I think they pointed out how many social media impressions and views that has got. And, again,
it's the way to do it these days, isn't it?
That's what it's. And also Port Vale, as they say on their own banner that they've put up, haven't they? That on their thing, confusing geography teachers since they were founded. It's one of those unique clubs that people don't always know where they are. But
for those wondering, it's in Burslem in Stoke.
There you go.
Stoke, yeah.
The Burslem area. Yeah.
But maybe Malden don't want to poke them too much more, because again, going back to the beginning, if it goes around the Port Vale players and they think, actually, we need to. But I'm sure a lot of Malden and Tiptree players won't be worried about that. They played a lot of them. Macaulay Bond last week, didn't they, as well? So we watched the playoff final for Southend last year, and obviously everyone knows what he's done in his career, and he's gone there now. So I'm sure they won't be fazed by that. But it could have been a little bit of a poke. Any other sort of games that kind of stood out for you, Couch? Any other ties in that draw that maybe stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a cracking draw. It really was for non-league as a whole.
I didn't see it on Monday night. I was in front, and I sort of kind of logged onto social media, and which I try not to do, but I was looking at people saying, "Oh, what a terrible draw that was!" And
that
was a great draw. And I look at it and think, there's lots of good ties. I
understand that. It was. I mean, there's 7 all non-league ties, which is first and foremost it is great, because it means we've got 7 non-league teams in round 2. Good chance then of getting at least a couple in over the line for round 3, which is better than last year. And then we got 8 non-league clubs who are going to EFL clubs, and 8 non-league clubs who are hosting EFL clubs, which is a lovely synergy in itself. And some really, really good ties. I like the look of York going to Barnsley. I think that's one that they'll really fancy. They'll relish a trip to Oakwell.
Big numbers there, won't they?
They'll big numbers there. Of course, they will. Not too far. I think that's got Friday night written all over it for me. But we'll see. There was just so many. Tamworth at home to Leyton Orient I quite like as well. Leyton Orient going really, really well in League One, and we don't need to talk too much about Tamworth and what they can do in the FA Cup after what they did last year. And Leyton Orient won't fancy that at all, I don't think. But so many really, really good ties, and it promises to be a fascinating weekend on November the 1st.
Yeah, I think you say that the clubs do. There's a feeling that non-league clubs want that home draw, but I quite like it when they go to the away.
Yeah.
I was talking to Lee Allenson at Hemel, that great win against Yeovil on Saturday, which was kind of interesting that he was talking about how they were down to 10 men, but even in that moment, they sort of felt like, actually, we can go and win this today. Let's try and do it now while we've got the chance to. And he sort of changed the formation, put 2 up top, and they sort of kind of got back on top and got their goal. And they're going away to Wigan, who are obviously former winners. So a real trek up there. But I think that's kind of like part of the fun of the FA Cup. And as a fan, exactly. going off,
into the unknown.
Yeah, you sort of get up early in the morning, and you're in your cars and on your coaches and everything up to another part of the country or down to another part of the country, wherever you're coming from. I think that's all kind of sort of part of the fun to sort of go and play clubs you don't normally get to go against. But
it goes back to what Andy said about momentum as well. I mean, these clubs like Wigan will think, Hemel who they won't know that that. Yes, they'll know that they're going well in National League South, but Hemel will go there with absolutely nothing to lose. and they just have no expectancy at all. Just go there and have a go at them, and that's why the FA Cup throws up such special results, and that's where the magic of the cup comes from. And I think of those 8 non-league clubs going to EFL, I wouldn't mind betting that there'll be at least 2 that'll come back still in the hat for round 2.
And knowing the Allingtons as we do, they'll be ready.
Exactly. Yeah, wouldn't put past them at all. Yeah,
they will be ready. You know, whether they can go to Wigan and win is another matter, but they will be ready. I mean, one of the ties that, in a funny way, jumps out for me is one of the all non-league ones, because you've got Western against Aldershot, and that's you know, with everything that's happening at the moment, you know, obviously change at Western with Scott Bartlett going to Eastleigh and Tommy Withington coming, Tommy coming out of Aldershot. Probably a bit less an unpredictable one, but I mean, big prize money as well. You know, I know we talk about the ability to get to the second round and that carrot of the third, but big financial incentives just to win at this stage, because then you get some sort of lucky losers prize money for the second round as well. It's worth some big dough to clubs. You know, Western at home, getting much better crowds than they used to these days. You know, Aldershot not too far away. I'm really intrigued by that tie, and you know, the dynamics around it and how that one might pan out. And Boreham Wood against Crawley as well. They've got such a history. Luke Garrard's got such a history.
We talked about this last week. But I would assume that now Boreham would win that game. They'll win it. It'll be 2-0.
If you're a better man, you'd have a fiver on it, wouldn't you?
I just think it's the most obvious thing. And afterwards, when it happens, you're like, that was just, of course they beat them, because why wouldn't they?
Crawley would not fancy that at all.
It's like you see that and you think, oh no, and it's that Boreham Wood. It's just going to be, you know, it's going to be.
The other one that jumped out at me as well, South Shields.
Yeah, it's a great one.
The progress that they've made, the way that they're going this season. The momentum, again, the old thing, momentum. That
almost starters' favourites, don't they?
Yeah.
Got to be on the telly, that one, surely. That's got to be on the telly. You'd think it'd be amazing if it's not.
If you're Shrewsbury, you're looking at that and going,
they're like fraught. These are, I think, as a league club, I think you probably want home against another league club, and just sort of, you don't need the whole. You don't need it. You don't need everything that's around it. You don't need that. It's like basically a no-win game, because you're just going to get an opposition who are not only feel they can play down the door, but also more often than not very good side as well, doing well in their leagues and more than capable. And it's just I think we've seen the narrowing of that gap more and more, and we're seeing more teams go away to places and win as well. So that's an interesting one. But yeah, let's say quite a few all non-league ties in there as well that you know, kind of give that opportunity to get through, don't they? I think one that sort of really sort of stands out for me is that Chelmsford City against Braintree Town. You know, the former Braintree manager Angelo Harrop at Chelmsford. Braintree manager Steve Pitt used to be Angelo's assistant and knows Angelo's dad for many years. They've kind of sort of were together as well in management. So just kind of got everything, the makings of a real kind of Essex classic out there. A couple of years ago, Braintree turned Chelmsford over in the playoffs at Chelmsford. But personally, that's one I'd be sticking on TV. I'd get that straight on, because I think that's going to be a fascinating tie, and big crowd, and more than be spicy. I think a few challenges flying in there, which would be really interesting. But yeah, Buxton Chatham as well as the other one. You know, Chatham remarkable.
What a result they got! What a result they had.
Yeah, a tricky one for him to go up to Buxton, but it should be an interesting one, and all those stories still to tell. But we'll leave it there, chaps. Appreciate your time. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and as we say, please like and subscribe, and leave comment in the box below. We really appreciate that. Couchy, thanks for joining us, Andy. Or one thing, Andy, just one thing, didn't you? Just wanted to pay a tribute to a mate.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I used to go home and away with Redditch United. Martin Fanning, unfortunately, passed away suddenly and unexpectedly recently. Probably well known face rather than name at away grounds in Conference North and Step 3. But yeah, quite a shock for us all, really. Big character, lively with a couple of beers in him, and you could certainly hear and see him coming. And I know, a lot of my old cohort from the Reds very upset and shocked at the news. So just rest easy, Mark. Lovely knowing you, and very sad that we won't have a catch up about what I've written in the non-league paper again. Yeah, unbelievable, really, and just wanted to pay tribute. So rest in peace, Martin Fanning.
Yeah, lovely words, mate, and thoughts of his family and with you, mate. And sort of these are the connections that we make in non-league football, aren't they? The people that you get to meet and chat to, and we all get to talk about the thing that we love, which is this weird and wonderful game outside the football league. So lovely words, mate. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Couchy, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.